Welcome back to the Peax Thrive Vodcast, where we break down the strategies, gear, and tactics that fuel Western hunting success. First, we're going to answer a common question. What's the ultimate e-scouting and hunt planning setup? I've tested just about every configuration out there, and today I'm going to break down what works and what doesn't. Then we're going to shift gears to spring bear hunting. We're going to go over 5 key principles that will help you consistently find more bears and some of the tools you can use to put yourself in the best possible position for success. If you're serious about taking your Western hunts to the next level, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. The ultimate e-scouting and hunt planning setup. If your Western hunt planning isn't on your mind yet, it should be. It's February and it's the perfect time to put in the real work, not August. Believe it or not, August is the biggest month for new members joining my Treeline Academy e-scouting elk course. To me, that's getting to the party a little late in the game. But hey, it's better late than never. Lately, I've been flooded with questions about the best computer and monitor setup for e-scouting and hunt planning. So in this first segment, I thought I'd break it down and share what I've learned. Over the years, I've tried and used just about every possible monitor and setup configuration. This is your chance to benefit from all of my trial and error and failures. A lot of hunters assume that one big monitor or even projecting onto a large TV is the way to go. That setup works okay if you're just going to be flying around using Google Earth Pro's drone style flyover tool, which I teach in my course. It's fine for big picture overviews, but it's not my day-to-day go-to e-scouting system. The ability to use multiple applications and tools side by side is an absolute requirement with my e-scouting method. I always say use the right tool for the right job. And most of the time, that means using them side by side at the same time. And for this reason and others, I strongly prefer using a multi-monitor setup over a single large screen. My recommendation is 2 monitors with your laptop functioning as a third monitor. This is a very solid hunt planning system that does not cost a ton. Monitors have really come down in price and they are much more affordable now. At one point, I was all the way up to 6 monitors. That was a little too much. Managing the workflow on that many screens was a bit overwhelming, it was cumbersome, and just wasn't as efficient as I thought it would be. However, 4 monitors might be the sweet spot if you're looking to build a next level system. I'm now considering migrating back to a 4 curved monitor setup. Before you go all in on a setup, make sure your laptop or your desktop has decent power and it can handle the number of external monitors that you plan to run. You absolutely need to be running Google Earth Pro as one of your e-scouting tools. And ultimately, that application needs to be installed and will not run on many tablet devices. I have continued to hear about folks that have trouble running Google Earth Pro on Surface tablets and some of these other random brand tablets. Remember, we are talking about Google Earth Pro, the application program, not the browser-based web version or even the mobile application version. I would love to know what systems and monitors that you all are running. Let me know in the comments section below. Spring bears, 5 key principles. We just wrapped up the first of 4 Peaks tour events. We kicked off the tourist season with a bear-specific seminar at the Meridian, Idaho Shield Store. These bear and elk tours are full-scope deep dive events that bring together the very best hunting tactics, strategy, and technology. If you're looking to elevate your elk or bear hunting game, you really need to make plans to attend one. Spring bear hunting is booming. Spring bear hunting has surged in popularity among Western hunters in recent years, and for good reason. Maybe a small part due to all of our bear content, spring bear hunts deliver that adrenaline-filled backcountry adventure that we crave so much. Over the past decade, spring bear season has become one of my most anticipated hunts of the year. In some years, I spend nearly as much time chasing bears as I do elk and deer. For those hunting Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, the deep winter snowpack brings unique challenges, but with the right approach, you can stack the odds in your favor. Our continued success in these states is no accident. It comes down to 5 mission-critical spring bear principles that you can't afford to ignore. Number 1, chasing the snow line. Number 2, targeting slope orientation. And 3, isolating the prime elevation zone. And 4, slope steepness evaluation. And finally, number 5, evaluating the terrain, chasing the snow line. The crucial first step is to identify the approximate elevation level of the south slope snow line during the specific hunt time frame. I know that was a mouthful. As spring arrives, bears begin to emerge and they tend to follow the melting snow line up the mountain, tracking the high energy green up zones. The Treeline Google Earth Pro toolkits have a dedicated spring bear layer dataset that will help you narrow down and track both historical as well as current snow lines. We utilize the historical snow data to plan and plot potential spring bear hunt areas, and then we use the current and real-time aerial imagery to verify and confirm our predictions as we get closer to the hunt dates. The objective here is to pinpoint the snow line elevation, estimate snow depth, and finally monitor the melting trends before the hunt. The toolkit layers are a great place to start, but they should not be the only tool in your bear hunting toolbox. You should also be using the GOHUNT or the onX terrain analysis tools alongside semi-live aerial imagery that is available in CalTopo and LandViewer and a few other tools to visually verify snow cover and the snow line. Once you have accurately researched and pinned down snow levels, you are much better equipped to isolate those prime spring bear hunt areas with precision and confidence. You are miles ahead of the spring bear curve if you know how to use the available tools to track the snow line, the snow cover, depth, and the melting progress. This data is vital to predicting and tracking the early spring green up. The spring bear evaluation process hinges on the integration of various technology tools, whether through podcasts, live events, courses, or webinars. I consistently emphasize the importance and the advantage of having multiple tools in your hunt planning toolbox. The GOHUNT Terrain Analysis tool and the onX Hunt Terrain X tool are both indispensable when it comes to spring bear hunting and planning. I'm going to quickly review both of these tools coming up in the Tactics and Strategy segment. Target slope orientation. Southern facing slopes tend to green up first in the spring and always seem to attract the most bears. These south, southwest, and even southeast facing slopes are prime bear focus areas, especially for us during the early phases of the season. However, they're just one key element of the success equation, and depending on your spring bear hunt timing, this can and should change. Slope orientation, whether it's north, south, east, or west facing, always plays a crucial hunt strategy role for just about all western big game species. A topographic base map can give you a basic idea of slope orientation. With these flat 2D views, it can be a little challenging to pick up the finer details and trends. Southern slope orientation clusters like these are often hard to see and are overlooked. For early to mid-season bears, we typically want to target areas with the highest concentration of southern-facing slopes or territory that offers large, expansive south slope views. Isolating the prime elevation zone. Once we have pinpointed the precise snow line elevation, we can then start to predict and target the prime spring bear elevation zone. We like to target elevation zones that are 750 feet to 1,500 feet below the actively melting snow line. Keep in mind that these are not hard fact numbers. For example, if the snow line is at an elevation of 6,500 feet, we want to evaluate the terrain in the 5,750 to 5,000 foot zone. We will spend most of our time looking for bears in this zone. Year after year, we consistently find the most mature bears on the mountain in this zone. Slope angles and steepness. Emerging spring bears seem to be drawn to those steep, rocky, semi-open terrain slopes. We generally find ourselves glassing slopes in that 20 to 40 degree steepness range. Once again, we have consistently found that those big, mature boars tend to prefer that rugged, steep country. Why are these slopes so productive? First, steep southern-facing slopes green up faster because they catch more sunlight, absorb more heat, and accumulate less snow. That all translates to earlier and more consistent food sources. The bottom line is that if you're looking for bears in the early parts of the season, your best bet might be to focus on those steep, southern-facing slopes where the snow line is retreating. Terrain overview. Now that we have those first 4 factors dialed in, we know exactly where to focus our attention for the prime spring bear terrain features. We look for very specific terrain features when it comes to spring bears. I produced an extensive 2-part webinar using terrain, elevation, and snow analysis to find spring bears. This webinar walks you through the snow line evaluation process and the tools to help you get the job done. The webinar is available as part of my Treeline e-scouting elk course and is also available in the Treeline Plus platform. You can find out more about both of these options at treelineacademy.net. So, as we've discussed, once we know the approximate snow line elevation in a potential hunt area for the specific hunt time frame, I break out the GOHUNT and or the onX terrain analysis tools. These tools allow you to quickly and accurately isolate potential hunt areas based on slope orientation, steepness, and user-defined elevation zones. Let's take a few minutes to run through both of these tools and point out a few differences. Okay, for the first example of the terrain analysis tools, we're here in GOHUNT and we're using the GOHUNT Maps platform. You can see we're in the browser version or the web-based version. The terrain analysis tool in GOHUNT only works in the web-based or the browser version, which is fine because honestly, all of this work needs to be done during your pre-hunt e-scouting phase anyway. To activate this tool, it's a pretty simple tool. And once you know the variables, you'll see that it's very simple, but it's pretty dang powerful. So you'll come over here and you'll use this terrain analysis icon and you'll pop up the window. And so first thing you're going to do is activate it. We'll turn it on and then we're going to drag the transparency up. I like to be about halfway so that you can see through the shaded areas and see the little bit of the terrain below. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to turn on the southwest, southeast, and south slopes. And we're going to turn on the slope angle, everything above 15 degrees. So this is one of the areas that I wish GOHUNT had dialed a little bit better, is they've got the slopes set in these ranges. Well, we kind of wanted to look at the 25 to 45. So if we're going to use the GOHUNT tool, we got to kind of fit our search to their ranges or their buttons, which is, not that big a deal. Because remember, we're looking for general hunt areas. These slope steepnesses, these elevation ranges, these are guidelines. These are more for eliminating country that we're not going to look for bears in, as much as they are for finding a country that we're going to look for bears in. I hope that makes sense. So we've got it activated. And the next thing we're going to do is set this elevation range. So in our example that we were talking about, we're going to be looking in the 5,000 foot to 5,700 foot. So I'm going to set it, just for sake of viewing, I'm going to set it to about the 6,000 foot range. So we've got it at 5,000 to 6,000. That's the range we're kind of focused on. And we've got our slope, we've got our elevation range, and we've got our slope orientation or our facing slopes. So everything in green meets our requirements. So it becomes pretty obvious really quick where we might want to focus our attention. We're going to be looking for hunt areas that are in these green zones that have the features that we are looking for spring bears. Remember what we talked about: rocky, steep slopes, open country that we can glass, good water drainage for good growth. We're going to be looking for those kinds of features inside these green zones. So I think you can quickly see that this terrain analysis tool is very good for visually showing areas that meet these requirements. Guys, it is very hard to look at a topo map and pick out the areas that satisfy these 3 requirements. So let's take a look at the other option. Okay, so here we are in the onX Hunt platform. So once you're logged into your onX account, you're going to want to come over here and you're going to see this icon here. So in order to see this icon, you have to be an elite member. You can see right here that I'm an elite member, and there's the designation for the elite right there. So once you're an elite member, you have access to these terrain analysis tools. So you simply click that icon. And one of the things that I dislike about the onX platform is that it opens a new browser window. You can see that when we toggle back, This is our original one. It's got our roads and you can see the trails and some of the peripheral features. But when it opens up the lab version for this Terrain X analysis, that stuff kind of all goes away. So the layout is a little bit different and the order is a little bit different, but the process is very similar. One of the things that I do like about this Terrain X very much is that you can absolutely dial in every single variable, meaning slope. So we said we wanted to look 25 to 45. We can set that exact slope. So everything that's highlighted now is meeting that slope angle. Then we can set the slope aspect or the slope orientation. So I'm going to turn off all of the slope orientations except for southeast, south, and southwest, as you can see. So now when we zoom in, we have highlighted all of the areas that meet these first two criteria. So if we scroll down, then we set the elevation zone. So we said we wanted what? We wanted 5,000 to, we did about 6,000, didn't we? So I'm just going to do 6,000. So what do we got? We got 5,000 to 6,000 foot elevation band. We got south, southeast, southwest facing slopes, and we've got a slope steepness set of 25 to 45. So again, it becomes a little bit obvious where you need to start focusing your attention. Now, I think that the GOHUNT is a little more clear because it works in the same browser window, but I like the dialability of the Terrain X tool. But the bottom line is both of these tools are incredibly valuable when it comes down to isolating spring bear hunt areas, and either one of them will get the job done very well. So that's how you use the Terrain X tool in the OnX. Remember, you must be an elite member to have access to that tool. These terrain analysis tools are incredibly valuable, and I find myself using both of them all of the time during my hunt planning process, especially when it comes to developing new spring bear hunt areas. Western hunting isn't just about the trigger. It's about the preparation, the strategy, and the process that gets you there. The very best Western hunters don't just show up. They put in the work long before the season starts, and they leave no stone unturned. Take what we've covered today, apply it, test it, refine it. Whether it's optimizing your e-scouting setup or dialing in your spring bear strategy, the work you put in now will pay dividends when it matters most. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and please consider subscribing to the Peax Equipment YouTube channel. You don't have to be the very best, just better than you were yesterday. I'll see you next time.